I'm Andre Alphonso, and in my professional career that spanned just over 30 years, there's a single theme that's woven its way through it. And that's helping and serving leaders to reach out and touch their true potential, to show up as the best version of themselves. And today, I run two companies that focus just on that. The first organization is Ariel in Australia, and we work on just one thing, which is presence. And we teach people how to have more presence. The other organization is in India, and that's Forum. And there I lead a dynamic, really young group of people who are working with leaders and organizations and salespeople, helping them be their best. I'm passionate about two things. The first thing is to stop people faking it. And what I mean by that is getting people to take off the mask that they wear and be their authentic selves. And the second thing is to stop people from rusting. What I mean by that is when we get to the second half of our lives, we tend to go into a decline where people say, let's turn the volume down in how I live my life. And I think it's the opposite. Because when you get to the second part of your life, you have the most experience you've ever had, the most skills you've ever had, and collected the most wisdom you've ever got. Now is the time to turn up the volume, not turn it down. Now, those two things that I'm passionate about are really important to me because it really is the story of my life. When I was 12 years old, my parents immigrated to Australia, and I found myself as the only brown kid in a school. You can imagine how much fun that was. So there was a group of people that decided that they were going to torment me and make my life misery. And now people get bullied every day, I know that. And it's how we react to bullying that was probably the thing that affected me most, because I decided to keep it a secret. I did not tell my parents. My parents had no idea that I was bullied. And that was the first mask that I put on, because I was never going to be weak or seen to be weak again. In my 20s and 30s, I moved on to a very, very successful corporate career, and I rose to the dizzy heights of a senior executive position in one of the top Fortune 500 companies. I fell in love with my career because, all of those feelings of worthlessness that I had at school were now covered by this career I had. So I put on a career mask. And in doing that, my marriage became an inconvenient truth. In destroying that marriage of mine was a terrible price to pay. It was unforgivable, I believe, because the impact it had on my 13-year-old stepson and my two daughters, who were 6 and 8 at the time, was just not fair. They say it breaks your heart, and it broke my heart, literally. At 42, I had a major heart attack, which almost took me out. It just meant that I had to reinvent my life. And the thing that attracted me was consulting, because it was another mask to put on. Because when I joined a consulting company, when people pay you for you, it is the most direct way of recognizing self-worth, right? They're paying you for you. And I did really well. I was like a duck to water in that consulting company. I rose to the top, met my soulmate, had a couple of daughters, and life was going really well. Except I was still vulnerable to, a boss and an organization that could take me out anytime. So at the top of my game as managing director of this management consulting company, I decided to quit and start my own business. And life was brilliant. And everything was working out according to plan. And as Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. In 2015, I got punched in the face, right? And heart disease came knocking once more. And I went in for a routine procedure to get a stent put into my artery, and it went horribly wrong. My bed was tilted at an angle trying to get my blood pressure up again, and they were preparing defibrillators to get my heart started when it stopped. And I looked at the nurse and I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "Andre, you have just descended into critical and we are trying to save your life." I still get goosebumps when I hear her voice. And I thought to myself, is this it? Was that my life? And you know, in those moments when you make eye contact with death, strange things happen. Because in that moment I knew I was not done. I was not done because I hadn't lived my truth. And I figured that if I survived this, I was going to change my life. She said, cough, stay with us, Andre, stay with us. Cough, cough. And I was coughing and coughing. And in that moment of coughing, I coughed up all of those masks that I was wearing. I coughed up all of those doubts I had of myself and all of the weaknesses that I'd sort of hidden behind in that moment. After going through that experience, right, I do not want to wear any more masks. I want to be myself, be my authentic self. And I find it incredibly liberating. Not only is it liberating, but it's given me this vitality and energy which I just didn't know I had. So the second half of my life, which I'm living right now, is going to be one of meaning. I'm going to turn up the volume and try and help people in terms of, you know, making sure that they can be the best version of themselves, either through working with me or through the organizations that I lead.